Are we in the upside down?
Oh, absolutely.
I think we're in the upside down.
Tell your friends we're never a bore. You haven't heard it like this before. Yes, it's time to explore the things we care for. And though your jaw may hit the floor, we're still the weirdos you adore. We're the weirdos next door.
Hello, this is Nobi, he, him,
And this is Nicole, they, she,
and together we are
the weirdos next door.
That was really good.
Yeah.
So, hello everybody, and welcome to our third episode of the Not So Supreme.
No, this is only the second.
Second? I thought it was the third.
No, it's the second. That, our last one was a false start.
I thought we're already done.
No.
Okay.
No, we've only recorded the dogs.
All right, 1, 2, 3. Hello everybody, and welcome back to our series on the Not So Supreme Court. The Unsupreme Court still do not have a name for it. And this is episode 2.
2, yes.
Of our series. We launched it with the big one, talking about the overturning of Roe versus Wade. Go back and check that out if you want to hear it. This one we're talking about an even bigger. Well, is it bigger? I don't know. We can't compare them. They're different. But it's really huge because it is like the primary reason why the United States of America exists. The separation of church and state. Yep.
But this is specifically discussing religion in schools. There were 2 decisions made. Both were 6-3 decisions. Surprise. But one discusses funding in schools and one is prayer in schools. So we're going to start with funding, which is the Carson versus Macon case.
Right.
So the basis for this one is in the state of Maine, more than 50% of the 260 school districts do not operate their own high schools. Because of this, state legislature created a tuition assistance program to pay for students to attend public or private schools inside or outside of the state. According to the program's requirements, the private schools must be non-sectarian or unrelated to religious groups or organizations. So this basically led to 3 sets of parents decided that they were going to sue that the program requirement was a violation of their First Amendment rights. Parents wanted to send their kids to private Christian schools that obviously did not qualify for funding. The commissioner dismissed the case, so it moved up to the district court where it was also dismissed. The parents appealed the decision again, appealed the district decision, and it was held again. So again, just slowly made its way up the Supreme Court because all of the other courts denied it. Said, hey, no, this is not a violation of your First Amendment rights.
So I have a I'm kind of torn about this. I have kind of some mixed feelings, and I wonder if it's because of our age gap. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Is it my late boomer mentality or what? But I kind of feel it's like I grew up. It was all just schools. There was a high school that was, a Catholic school all the way from pre-K
Mm-hmm.
to, and they were part of course. I was going to a private school.
Mm-hmm.
And we just considered them a private school, but they just had an affiliation with a church.
Yeah.
Right? So I guess they did stuff that we didn't do, like they prayed and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Which we're going to get into also because that's also gotten into everywhere.
Yep.
But
there's usually mandatory temple time, some sort of sectarian studies, where you study the religion and the texts and blah 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 blah.
I'm just saying that those are, I think a lot of institutions had some basis, had some starting from some religious group or something. I feel like.
Yeah, but that's
in some way or another.
Among private schools.
But private schools that are...
Yeah, religious private schools.
Right.
Because yes, there are plenty of other private schools that are not religious.
would it be fair then to say, okay, if you spend 10% of your curriculum, blah blah blah, time, whatever, of on these students for the religion, then you get 10% less money. Is that fair?
I don't know. That's also asking a lot of, school oversight and, curriculum review that, most states are already horribly underfunded and doing anyway. But we are getting much off track. So basically, the decision requires the state of Maine to fund religious education at the private religious schools as part of their state tuition assistance program. The ACLU has come out and said this is officially the first time the court has explicitly required taxpayers to support specifically religious activity. The opinions, of course, the majority opinion is made by Roberts, Thomas, Alito, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Coney Barrett. A lot of this bases around the 2002 Zellman decision that allowed school vouchers to be used for sectarian schools. However, that decision hinges on the specific quote is, private citizens can direct government aid to religious schools wholly as a result of their own genuine and independent private choice. And there's actually a whole questionnaire that they determined to determine what private choice is. And that includes have a valid secular purpose, aid must go to the parents, not to the school, a broad class of beneficiaries must be covered, the program must be neutral with respect to religion, and there must be adequate non-religious options. So basically, with this new decision, all of those are still satisfied, except that aid must go to the parents, not schools. It seems like previous to this case,
you had a voucher, and if you're going to a certain school, the school would get that voucher, and they would use that to pay for your kid.
Yeah, I, the parent, handed the school this voucher.
Yeah.
That is the important part of this. And basically, what is now occurring is,
I get the money.
Yeah, I hand it directly to the school. Now the state is handing money directly to the school. That is the issue here. That is the breakdown of the very, very thin wall that is the separation of church and state. Is we are now officially the government saying it is okay for us to hand money over to this religious school.
Okay, wait a minute. Are we saying that the law previously was that number 2 thing, that aid must go to the parents, not schools? Right.
That was the case from that 2002 Zellman decision. That officially defined what private choice is in a legal sense as it applies to religion funding or religious school funding.
Mm-hmm.
So now the 2022 decision still basically keeps that private choice part, except for the parent being the intermediary, officially saying that this is my choice, and being the person who hands off the voucher. So basically, we're removing that parental intermediary. Again, I don't know how this is going to look legislative wise, because there has to be obviously some sort of census as to how many, I guess just as a whole, all of those students at those religious schools are officially being paid for by the state. So all I have to say is, I have 3,000 students at my school. You have to give me money for 3,000 students now.
Interesting.
Yeah. So again, the fact that we are handing money, direct government, state, taxpayer money to schools, just directly.
Don't they get? Isn't that where it ends up anyway? because they were giving the vouchers to the parents to like pay for their kids' secondary high school education.
You got a voucher, but you couldn't use it at religious schools.
Oh, they wanted to be able to use their vouchers at that school.
At religious schools.
Okay, I'm tracking now. It took me for a second there.
Like, yeah, if you want your kid to go to a non-religious charter school or a private school that isn't religious, super cool, great, awesome. Here's your voucher. Go knock yourself off. Go pick your school. You want your kid to do online homeschooling? Sure, awesome. We'll pay for the program. That's what this used to say. Now they're saying we're even going to pay for religious school. So we're paying for your kid to get a Catholic education. We're paying for your kid to get a super conservative, anti-queer, anti-LGBTQ, pro-life education. That's what we are paying for now.
Yeah.
Because that's what these parents are hoping happens. And now that is the scary part. Now there is state-funded indoctrination. Cool. Officially. More than there was already.
Well, yeah, I would say it existed before.
Well, religious indoctrination, I guess, is what I should say there.
Yeah. Okay.
So then in the dissenting opinion, we have Breyer, Kagan, and Sotomayor. And this says, the First Amendment begins by forbidding the government from making any law respecting an establishment of religion. It next forbids them from making any law prohibiting the free exercise thereof. The court today pays almost no attention to the words of the first clause while giving almost exclusive attention to the words of the second. Sotomayor adds in her addition to the dissenting opinion, what a difference 5 years makes. In 2017, I feared that the court was leading us to a place where separation of church and state is a constitutional slogan, not a constitutional commitment. Today, the court leads us to a place where separation of church and state becomes a constitutional violation.
Wow.
If a state cannot offer subsidies to its citizens without being required to fund religious exercise, any state that values its historic anti-establishment interests more than this court does not have to curtail the support it offers to its citizens. With growing concern from where this court will lead us next, I respectfully dissent. Like that's like just that dissenting line alone. With growing concern for where this court will lead us next, I dissent.
A question just popped up in my head. It's like, can the Supreme Court bring up their own cases to consider, or can they revisit their past things and say that whole thing that we did at the blah blah blah, that was when the court was stacked erroneously.
Well,
or
that's
disingenuously.
What is going to occur with a lot of this is we have to hope that in the next session another case comes up that we might be able to pull one of the more conservative justices, or two actually, back over and say but these things, because now just like we've been fighting, or just like they've been fighting to overturn Roe for 50 years, now the long haul starts to do our own legislative judicial bullshit of playing the numbers game. And another 50 years is really terrifying.
Yeah.
But
so separation church and state.
Yeah, so we are now officially government funding religious schools. Super cool.
Right. So
awesome. Basically, that's what door has been opened here. The possible benefit could be, okay, now we're using taxpayer money at religious schools. Okay, that means religion now gets taxed. That's the only good thing.
Has anybody talked about that?
Yes, people are talking about it. It's just we also know how much the conservative side has loved, gutting anything and everything about the IRS. Would they ever approve that change to our tax code? Like, it's there's a whole legislative nightmare and giant bureaucratic checklist in between us and that actually becoming the case, but they opened the door.
I also think that if these schools accept these vouchers, they must adhere to certain things, in addition to, in fact, like you can't teach religion in your religious school for these students that are using the vouchers. They have to go to a special room where they get to eat ice cream and play video games while everyone else has to pray.
I don't know, because I guess it's one of those things of it's still that the parents are choosing that's where they want their kids to go. So obviously they want their child to have a religious upbringing. That's already an opt-in.
Right.
That's what it's supposed to be in the first place. Someone should not be forced to go to a Catholic school against their will. Yeah. That sounds terrible.
Right. That's not the only case that's
dealing with religion in schools.
Right. Actually, dealing with religion in schools, but also church and state, correct?
Yes.
Right. And that's it's the prayer in school, specifically prayer on the football field.
Yep.
Kennedy versus Bremerton School District.
Yeah.
So a high school football coach has been praying on the field after football games, and he says that it's protected under the First Amendment for free speech. So he started doing it at 7 years alone, and players started slowly, quote unquote, voluntarily joining him. And the group kept growing, right? Got bigger and bigger, and parents started complaining. Players reported feeling kind of compelled to participate or risk losing playing time because they've been coerced. The school board had no clue for 7 years when they were praised by another team for allowing this behavior. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So, of course, they reinforced their policy and training on religion and offered accommodations. They try to give them options, right? Instead of being so publicly out there praying, privately somewhere else. But that's not what he wanted, was it?
No, that's not what this is about. So he then went to social media after one of the meetings that he had with the school and said, I think I just got fired for praying. He didn't get fired for praying. This wasn't even when he was put on leave. Created this giant media frenzy and an even further environment where the other coaches and players felt unsafe. The coach continued to pray after games. At that point he was then placed on leave, and interestingly enough, no one gathered to pray without him or his initiation.
You mean like the assistant coach or the captain of one of the captains would go out. The captains would lead the team out there. Come on, guys, coach is gone. We got to support. We got to show solidarity. So let's go out there and pray.
Yeah. No one went to do it without him. So after he was placed on leave and the school year ended, the school opted not to renew his employment and coaching contract.
Which is perfectly their purview.
That's within their rights.
Yep.
So this isn't even suing for a wrongful termination. He was never terminated. He's going after them for a violation of his civil rights.
First Amendment rights. Yeah.
So he sued the school district. District court denied. The circuit court also denied. The Supreme Court denied his first petition. This was
when RBG was around.
Yeah, when RBG was still around. So he didn't get the full support of the court that was there. So it was remanded to circuit court again. Circuit court failed it again, said that this is not a case. So it went back up to the Supreme Court again.
Where now?
Yeah, and now we're here.
We have a stacked court.
So again, the majority opinion is Gorsuch, Roberts, Alito, Thomas, Coney Barrett, and Kavanaugh. And little soundbite from that one is respect for religious expressions is indispensable to life in a free and diverse republic. Whether those expressions take place in a sanctuary or on a field, or whether they manifest through spoken word or a bowed head, here a government entity sought to punish an individual for engaging in a brief, quiet, personal religious observance doubly protected by the free exercise and free speech clauses of the First Amendment.
You know, it may be brief. It may have been brief. And it may have been audibly quiet, but because he walked out to the middle of the field, probably to shake the opposing team's coach's hand, and then turned around, faced the home team, and then knelt and started praying. Started like coercing, you know, the players to participate as well. That's where the issue is, and that's what he just kind of kept doing.
Yep.
He wanted to keep doing.
Like he it doesn't sound like he made it very clear that you could opt out. It doesn't sound like he made it very clear that he would not hold it against you if you did not do this, because players said that they thought they would lose playing time if they didn't join him in his little, because it crossed from, it was somewhere in between religious and like a football pep talk, like your coach pep talk. He kept on, he would weave these lines. So he probably would be like, well, if you miss the post game meeting, like blah blah blah.
So he's making it mandatory.
Again, I'm not sure if these things were actually said, but it's like I can see where he blurred the line and probably got away with a lot for a long time, because a school board member maybe did go to a game at some point in those 7 years and just saw, maybe didn't hear the prayer part of it, and just saw the, like, y'all did really good out there tonight, blah, blah, whatever your dude sport ball bullshit is.
Because, you know, I played high school football.
Yeah.
I started both offense and defense, because not because I'm an athletic marvel, but mainly because there were like 56 people in my class.
That's what you're supposed to do in the Midwest and the South. You do sports ball stuff.
I did the sports ball. And I did the wrestling stuff. I did it for one season, my freshman season. Got my leather jacket, then stopped. And then got bored and did football for my senior, because the senior year football is great because you're on top already. So I came in, I just kind of snuck in, like whatever. But often it's always been when you're playing or in a game, or even after a game, when you have like a quick chat or meeting, it's like come on everybody, take a knee, and it's just because take a break, rest yourself for a second here while we talk to you.
Yep.
So you're already set for prayer, right?
Yep. So then on the dissenting side, again from Sotomayor, Breyer, and Kagan, they say this case is about whether a public school must permit a school official to kneel, bow his head, and say a prayer at the center of a school event. The Constitution does not authorize, let alone require, public schools to embrace this conduct. This decision does a disservice to schools and the young citizens they serve, as well as to our nation's longstanding commitment to the separation of church and state.
Yeah, totally. That's like common sense. This other shit was just twisting stuff left and right.
Yep. It seems like when the school started really finding out and getting complaints, they then were like, oh, well, shit, we must need to beef up our training. Like, they tried to do all of the right things. They offered him accommodations. They did additional trainings. They beefed up their policy book. They tried to do all the right shit.
But then he wouldn't be the center of attention like a white man.
Yeah, like he literally,
needs to be.
In some of his interviews, he talks about literally being inspired by like some football movie. It's like, I don't care. This is not We Are Marshall or whatever bullshit.
Do it in your office alone. Go home and pray.
Like, I don't know.
Go to church and fucking pray.
Yeah, go get a job at church, or do something. Go volunteer with.
Coach a Catholic football team, and they're very strong because they recruit.
They recruit, but like I'm trying. What's the other thing? fellowship of student athletes or whatever. Like, there's usually a group on campus at public schools that is specifically Christian athletes.
Yeah.
Go sponsor that group.
Yeah.
Go hang out with them, but you don't need to bring everyone else into it.
Right.
So the ACLU comment on this one is, this decision is deeply disappointing and undermines the religious liberty of public school students. As the Supreme Court recognized over 60 years ago, it's inherently coercive for school officials to pray with students while on duty. Today's ruling ignores that basic principle and tramples the religious freedom of students who may not share the preferred faith of their coaches and teachers.
Yep.
Yep. Pretty straightforward.
Yep.
But he brought the case again and got lucky with a new court that leans in his favor.
Yeah. And he's not there anymore, so there's no way, like, dissenting people could go out there and just surround his group and just, while they're kneeling, they stand, no one can see them, just make a big crowd and start face the crowd and start dancing. just hide the fact that they're praying. No. But
it's ridiculous. I don't get it. This whole ideal that we literally, one of the basis of what this entire country was about, was supposed to be founded on.
You knew it was going to happen the minute they confirmed Barrett.
Oh, absolutely.
The moment where they pushed through Amy Kavanaugh, still not qualified, but had a little more. He had a little more experience, right?
I mean, technically,
she only had like 1 year as a judge.
She has never tried a case. Never
tried a case, and all of a sudden is now.
She's a Supreme Court justice for the rest of her fucking life.
It needs to be impeachable. They need to impeach the fuck out of those people.
Like, it doesn't make sense.
Are we in the upside down?
We have to be.
I think we're in the upside down.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been a bit frustrating over the past week or so, couple weeks, as these opinions have been coming out, because even though the history we were taught was incredibly whitewashed, it is an absolute erosion of
what we were taught.
Because yeah, who were we watching the other day that he was like, I don't know, I was in AP US history. They talked all the time about stare decisis and precedent. What the fuck? Where did it go? And it's like, yeah, I had that pounded into my head in AP US history was stare decisis and fucking what previous courts decide will be held, even if you disagree. It's bullshit.
Oh well, it's been tough.
Yeah.
And I think, doing this little series here is sort of, in our own way, sort of helping us kind of spread the word.
Yeah, it's helping us process through the feelings involved, and again, like going through and finding the background info as to how these decisions were actually made is just wild to me.
He was actually using words of using religious terms. He was like, let's all pray now.
Mm-hmm.
And say like, dear God, blah, 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 thank you for this win, all this kind of stuff. And,
yep.
Please help Jason's arm heal faster and that kind of shit.
Yeah. We need to blow out his ACL next year. Come on. As
opposed to, all right, good game, guys. Let's have 30 seconds of quiet just to reflect.
Yep.
And appreciate and be grateful. So it's silent.
Yep.
Silent prayer?
Yeah,
Is that allowed?
Like, again, I was raised in Texas. Like, don't get me wrong, I overheard many of coaches praying, but it was always opt-in, and it was almost always actually, we're going to take a moment of silence. And they would sometimes go off and do their own thing. Mm. Like, I never had coaches literally
throw it in everybody's faces.
Yeah, and pull you in and make you feel like you had to do it.
I want to see this coach's Facebook page. We're gonna have to look it up. He's probably just a major douche.
Well, he's probably turned himself into one of those, just right-wing YouTubers
influencers
that had a little bit of social media when all of this started and got some attention and has fooled people into thinking he's important and that you should support him for some reason.
Yeah. I know what we're going to
I
do
mean,
about
he,
this.
he was able to fund all of these trips to court somehow.
Oh,
Because that's what all this is. It's who has money to keep on fucking fighting it.
he wasn't paying his own money.
No.
He was being funded.
Oh, I know.
He was being funded, just like Ricky Schroeder funded
But that's
Rittenhouse.
what all of this is anyway.
Yeah.
It's about the money.
I bet he has like AR-15s as well.
Probably.
And speaking of AR-15s, one of our upcoming episodes is going to be about gun control.
Yeah.
Because the court.
There was a concealed carry decision.
Yes, and they managed to like just kind of like, you know what? We're just going to throw some extra nails here in the coffin.
Yep.
Just to show you. They're like, it's really. I feel like we're being taunted.
We know y'all just passed like quote unquote meaningful gun legislation, but here, take this.
Yeah. So that's upcoming. So be sure to stay tuned and watch for our next episode of our not so Supreme Court series of the Weirdos Next Door. Come check us out on weirdosonline.com, and we'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Smash your social mores with the weirdos next door.